Have you ever just stood and looked out at something huge? The edge of the ocean or a massive open field. You just look out. You've seen those vast oceans that seem to go on forever. You've seen wide open land that stretches as far as your eyes can possibly reach. And no matter where you go, what you see at that edge is always the same, isn't it? It's a level horizon, a steady, solid boundary line where the world seems to meet the sky. Well, that simple, universal experience, it leads to a really fundamental question, a question that sort of pushes back against what we think we know about our world. And that question, it's just the first of 100 you'll find in the book Flat Earth Uncovered, 100 Questions That Challenge the Round Earth. This book really encourages a person to start with what is plainly visible and to ask questions about the world model we all accept. So let's explore some of the key ideas presented inside. So to really get a handle on the arguments in this book, we're going to look at 5 key areas. We'll start with that question of the horizon. Then we'll get into the alternative model of the Earth being put forward. After that, we'll examine the kind of evidence presented, the idea of a global conspiracy, and finally, the book's stated goal for all of this questioning.
Okay, so first things first, the whole inquiry really starts with that simple act of just looking out at the world. The argument is built completely on direct personal observation.
The central claim this book makes is pretty simple. If we lived on a giant ball, the horizon should noticeably drop away and show a curve, right? Especially from really high up. But according to this book, that's just never what a person actually sees.
So, if the world isn't a globe, then what is it? Well, this book puts forward a very different kind of model for the Earth's structure.
In this view, the world isn't a planet spinning through space. Instead, it's a stationary, enclosed plane. The sun, the moon, the stars, all of it is contained inside a structure, moving in a path above us.
Now, a really critical part of this alternative model is a totally different reason for why things fall. Forget gravity. This book proposes that things just fall or rise based on how dense or buoyant each one is compared to the air around it. So, the model described in this book really stands on 3 main ideas. First, an Earth that is stationary, not moving at all. Second, a solid dome or firmament, basically an unbreakable barrier enclosing the world. And third, a sun that's much smaller and much closer, moving in a circle above the plane, almost like a spotlight.
Okay, so what kind of evidence does this book actually offer to back up a model like that? Well, the arguments all come back to things you can see for yourself, with your own eyes.
This book poses another big question, but this time about the nature of water itself. What can the behavior of oceans and lakes tell us about the actual shape of the Earth?
The whole point here is the argument that water's natural state is to be perfectly level. Starting from that observation, this book concludes that huge oceans just can't bend around a massive sphere. This is presented as clear evidence for a flat Earth. Another line of thinking involves modern technology, specifically long-distance photography. What can a camera with a really powerful zoom lens show us about Earth's curvature, or the lack of it? The claim being made is that pictures can actually capture things from so far away that if you do the math for a round Earth, those objects should be completely hidden from view. So when a photo shows something that should be behind the curve, it's held up as direct visual proof against the globe model.
So this leads to a pretty obvious question. If all these observations are so simple and straightforward, why isn't this view more common? Well, the book offers an explanation for that too.
According to this book, the reason is a huge, coordinated effort across the world's most powerful institutions to hide the truth. The argument is that government agencies, scientific institutions, school systems, and the media all actively work to maintain the globe model. And why? What would be the motive for a deception that massive? This book suggests it's a form of control, to make humanity feel tiny and meaningless in a gigantic universe, instead of feeling special and central in a created, enclosed world. So let's wrap up by looking at the stated purpose of the book itself. What is a reader supposed to take away from all this? The introduction presents the book not as an attack or an attempt to force a belief on anyone, but more as an exploration of skepticism. It's presented as a journey into a different way of seeing things, with the goal of understanding the reasoning behind the questions being asked. And so this book really leaves the reader with a much bigger question to think about. What is the role of our own personal observation in a world full of scientific consensus?
And where do we draw the line between healthy skepticism and just dismissing established knowledge? If you want to explore all of these questions for yourself, Flat Earth Uncovered: 100 Questions That Challenge the Round Earth by Sue West is available now on Amazon.
Consistency is not an accident. Experience is not meaningless. And steady observations deserve steady reflection. This book invites that kind of clarity. Click the link to get your copy of Flat Earth Uncovered: 100 Questions That Challenge the Round Earth by Sue B. West.